Welcome to Selenium online training session 6. So we already in the last 5 sessions you already learned about different Selenium WebDrivers like annotations, right, method, functions, how you can identify the element, how you can perform the operations on the element, and as well as you know little bit about Java, like what are class, what is object, what is data type, right. And so today's in this session we will cover, right, these are the below topics we will cover today. So first is like what are methods or functions in Java, what is scanner class, what is wrapper class, what is math class, what are date and calendar function, what is all about constructor, what are the exceptions can occurs during Java coding, and how we can handle exception with the help of try catch block in Java. So this is the agenda for today's session. So what is Java method? So you already know, right, whenever we are writing program, we are writing several lines of code, right? But in case same sort of code need to be used multiple times. So in case we need to write multiple times, right, we can definitely write it, same code multiple times. But the problem is that in case some modification is required, so we have to identify each and every line of code, right, and we have to update each and every line of code for the similar kind of code. So that is the reason Java method or or whatever we are saying is, yes, functions came into the pictures. Okay, a Java method is a set of statements that are grouped together to perform an operations. Whenever user want to perform any operation multiple times, then instead of writing similar line of code multiple times, we will use the methods or function. There are basically two type of methods or function available in Java. One is built-in method, which is already built in Java. You need to use those method, or you need to call them method, right? So these are the called built-in method, like string method. You already noticed, right? Whenever we using the string, right? So we are calling some method, right? Just like the compare, right? To find some character, to find some length of the string, right? And to uppercase, lowercase, like that. So these are the built-in method available in strings methods. Okay, and date and times method we will discuss today's session. And another one is user defined method. So in the user defined method, two type of methods will be available. One type of method will return some value, and one type of method will be without returning any value. So this will be the return type will be void, right? So whenever we are declaring here, so we need to use some return type, okay, for creating the method. So we'll see how the method we can implement it and how we can call them multiple times in the main method. So here I already created a class called session 6 in the Selenium training package and the Selenium training 2020 project. Okay, so here whenever we will be creating any method, so this method need to be created in the class level. Okay, and in the main method level we will create a object or instance of the class, then we will use the method directly. Okay, so whenever we are talking about user defined method, there will be two type of method. One is returning value, which will return some value, and one is without returning a value. So first we will be creating method without returning any value, right? And what is the syntax for creating the method? You can create public, and then in case it does not have a return type, will be used void, that is none, return type is none, right? And we can select the method name, suppose test method, this is the method name, and you need to give first bracket whenever you are creating any method, and you need to method body should be start within the second bracket. So I want to give some output, right? I want to print something. Okay, first Java test method, this is the method body. Okay, here return type is nothing, right? Void. Okay, now if you want to call the method multiple times, right, then you need to create a object or instance. Suppose I will be creating object or instance obj equal to new the class name. So you already seen in the last session, right, how to create a object or instance. Now if I use that object and if I press dot, you can see the method test method will be coming here, right? You can see test method is coming. Okay, so as the return type is void, so directly you can call it.
Hello.
Yes.
Actually, I lost your voice from you were explaining public class, and then I lost your voice, and then it got jumped into object or test method.
Okay, okay, fine. So I was talking about that whenever we there will be two type of method for user defined method, right? One will be method with returning value, which will return some value, and one is method without returning any value. So whenever we'll be creating a method, that is the syntax, right? Access modifier, this is called access modifier. It can be public, protected, right, or private or default. In case we are not mentioning anything, it will be default. So in case it's public, then it will be accessible in the main method level. And this is the return type, void. In case there is no return type, so it will be void. And this is the method name. So whenever we will be creating any method, so this is the syntax: public, void, method name. Okay, and this is the return type. In case return type is there, we will mention the return type. I will show you later point of time. And then you need to give the first bracket for creating the method, and then method body will be in the second bracket, right? And here I want to get some output, so I'll be writing at first Java test method. Okay, and after that in the main method I need to create an object or instance for the class. This is the class, right, under which you are creating the method. Okay, the method I have created without a return type. That is the reason return type is void. Okay, so after object or instance is created, so I am removing the line again. So you can see here after object or instance is created for the class, if you press dot, you can see the method is coming, test method, right? Now if you run it, you can see the output will be coming for the method, right? You can see. So this is the, and if you want to use multiple times the same method, just you will simply copy paste, right? You will call in the main method. So here you will see the output will be coming. Okay, first Java test method 3 times. Now if you want to change, okay, -1, so what will happen? It will impact all the object where we will calling the test method, right? That is the beauty of the test method. In case you are updating in the method body, and whatever method it's calling, right, so everything will be updated. Otherwise, in case you are writing the same line of code, so you have to update 3 times, right? But and as we are creating the method name method, so we will be just update the method. So whatever method, it will be called in the main method, right? That in the main method, so it will be automatically updated. So here you can see the return type without a return type, this is called void. Okay, now let's comment out the code, and I will see you how to create a method where like there will be return type. Okay, so I will similar way I will use the public, this is the access modifier, then I will be creating some method name. Okay, suppose say multiply, where I want to multiply 2 or 3, right, variables. So I need to declare the variable, right? Suppose integer a, okay, and integer b and integer c. This is the variable I want to pass, right, whenever I want to multiply. Okay, and so that same method I will be using multiple times, right? You can see now error message is coming, right? So I already have created the method structure, still error message is coming. Why the error message is coming? If you click on the error message, you can see return type for the method is missing, right? So you have to give the return type. As it is integer, all are integer, you have to give the return type also integer. So it will be, no error message will be thrown, right? Now you can see error message gone. Now you can see add return statement. As and when you are, right, entering something here in the return type of the method, so you have to return also. So I will be creating here new variables integer result, where I will be storing the multiplication of a, b and c. So a star b star c, right? I am multiplying and I am storing in the integer result variable. Now you can see still error message is there, right? Because the method must return a result of type integer, right? So I have to return the result. return, then result, then error message will be gone. You can see. So first method I have created without a return type, right? So that is the reason it is void. So there is no need to return type anything. So okay, it will be just SYSO. Now I am creating a method, right, where I want to multiply three different variables A, B and C, and I want to store the result into the integer variable, because the same way, right, whatever data type you are defining, so it will be same data type, and also return type should be same. Suppose if you change it to double, you can see it will throw some error. Okay, it might not, but it can throw some error. If you change it to boolean, maybe runtime, it can throw some error. Okay, you can see error message is there, right? You can see here, change the method return type to int, or here result type to boolean. So I will change the method return type to integer. Now its error message gone. Now I want to access that particular method, right? So here if you see, I already created the object or instance for the class, right? Class name is object session 6. So this is the object I have created. Now if you press object dot, you can see the method is multiply is coming, right? So if you press multiply, you can see these three variable is coming, right? So you can enter three variables. Suppose I am giving 2 and B is 3 and C is 4, okay, and then I am ending with colon. Okay, now if you run it, so no error, no output will be there. So I have to print the output, right, and I have to store somewhere and I have to print the output. So if I store some variable integer, okay, if I give the variable name as multiplication result, this is the variable I am storing the result, right, and then I can print out it. Or directly you can use SYSO method instead of storing in the variable. So you can see now you will get the output, right? 2 and 3 is 6, 6 and 4 is 24. Now if you want to use the same method one more time, right? So I will be using the object dot and then again the multiply method. Here I will be providing more variables, right? Suppose say 2 and 5 and 10. C is 10, right? Now you can see the output. So for the first method it will be 24 and for the second it will be 100, right? 2 and 5 equal to 10 and 10 and 10 multiplies is 100. So that is the beauty, right? If you want to use one more time, so I will be creating the method only one time and I will be using it multiple times. Object dot multiply, suppose I want to give 3 and then 10 and also C as also suppose say 10. Okay, now you can see if you run it, you will get 3 output for the same method, only passing the variable, but you are not writing the same line of code. You can see here.
So
Okay.
you have taken here object dot multiply
Yes, yes,
2,
and
3, 4 for
right. Okay, okay. Now say you want to pass 4 variables, right here. Okay, so you will update the method here, right? Suppose if you want to pass 4 variable integer, suppose D, okay, and here if you need to also start with D. Okay, now you can see here error message is coming because you pass 4 variable here, so also you have to pass 4 variable here, right? Suppose I want to multiply with 5 and here I multiply with 1, okay, and also here also maybe 2. So now its error message gone. Now see, if you run it, it will give you the correct error, right? 2 into 3 is 6, 6 into 4 is 24, 24 multiplied by 4 is 120, and here 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into 5 is 10, 10 into 10 is 100, and here 3 into 10 is 30, 30 into 10 is 300, 300 into 2 is 600, right? So that is the beauty of the method, right? You can see here. So you are changing the method body once time. After that, how many time you are calling the method, it will be automatically updated, right? So you need to match with the parameter section, right? In case it is integer, it is boolean, you have to pass the correct parameter accordingly. Otherwise, anyway, it will throw some error. Okay. Suppose here instead of 5, if you want to pass 2 parameter, will it accept? No, it will not accept. You can see here error message is coming. Okay, you can see. Change the method multiply integer, otherwise you have to give some correct way. Okay, so you can give suppose 10 here. It will still stay because it defined as integer. So is it fine, understandable?
Can you explain once again?
Yes. So here whenever we will be creating the method where return type will be there, so this is the access modifier and this is the method name where you can pass the arguments, right? Suppose I want to pass 2 or 3 arguments, so you will be just passing 2 or 3 arguments depending on your requirement. Suppose I want to pass with 2 arguments, right? Now if you just change it to 2 arguments, so I want to multiply only 2 arguments, right? So C and D I will be removing here. Okay, so this is the method name, this is the access modifier public, so that it will be accessible in the main method, and this is the method's data type, right? Passing number of argument, this is called number of argument and type of argument, right? So number of argument is 2 and type definitely it will be same, and return type also it will be same, right? Integer if we multiply it will be integer only. Okay, then after multiplication, right, we will be storing in some another variable called result, right? If you don't want to, you can also directly return result, return A cross B. Here you can create another variable, because variable also same return type, should be same return type integer, right? That is the reason I have mentioned here integer, and I am storing in a new variable, and whenever any method has some return type, this is called return type. Here you can see this void means no return type was there, right? In case return type will be there, so you have to return something. Okay, so I am returning the result A and B multiplication, right? So this is my method multiply, where I will be passing 2 or 3 or 4 argument, and based on the argument here also you need to map with, right? So in the main method I am creating an object first. This is the called object, right? And you can directly print it object dot method name, and you will need to pass the argument, or you can store in different variable. Obviously it will be same return type, and then you can print it. So if it is 2 arguments, so I will be removing other 2 parameter. Okay, similar way I will remove other 2 parameter, so it will work now. Otherwise it will throw some error. Here if you are passing 2 parameter, you also in the main method also you need to pass the same way parameters, 2 parameter, and also the return data type of the parameter. So because it is data type is integer, so here also it should be integer whenever calling the method. So now if you run it, it will work. Why we are creating the method? Because same method can be used multiple times, and in case we need to update the method one time, so we will be updating in the method level, not in the other level where we are calling the method. So that is the importance, right? So instead of updating 3 times, you will be updating in a single one time in the method body, and obviously whenever you are calling, automatically it will be updated. You can see now 2 into 3 is 6, 2 into 5 is 10, and 3 into 10 is 30. Okay, Ankur, and now it's fine or not?
Yes.
Okay, and here in the first method, right, there was no return type, so just will be outing, and here obviously it will be no return type because return type is void. And whenever you will be creating any method with a return type, so you can directly call it, right, without SYSO, so it will be updating. So that is the beauty of the method. Similar way you can create multiple method for addition, subtraction, like that, and also you need to pass, you can pass multiple parameter. It can be double also, right? So you can change here double. Okay, and also you can change double. Say I am just changing it to double. So here also it should be double, right? And here also it should be double. So everywhere you need to change it. And now you can see here also you need to change it to double, right? So instead of 2 point something, I can give double value. Here I can also give some value, right? Still some error message is there. Okay, add typecast to int. Okay, here integer, I have mentioned integer, that is the reason it's coming. So you need to make it double, right? So you can see, now you can see 2 and 5 because it will also consider as double, but output will be with some point, right? You know, already seen this thing in the data type, right? You can see as and when I am mentioning it double, so it will be 2 and 5, it can be integer, but it will be converting to double because return type is double, right? So it will be converting to 10.0, and here it will be multiplied by this thing, it will get it the output. Okay, if you change it to 5.77 and if it is 3 point something like that 66, so you will get it also. So you will change only one places and it will update in all the places where the method will be calling, right? So you can see 5.77 con 3.44 equal to 19.84, and 2 and 5 should be 10, but as the return type is double, right? So it is coming as 10.0, and so similar way for the 5 and 6 it will be 30, 3 and 10, but it will be return type is double, so it is coming in 30.0. Is it clear now? So we are changing in only one place and it is updating all the places where we are calling the same method. So that is the importance of the method or functions in Java. Okay, so in case you need to create a method and same method will be used 100 times, and say after 10 days, 20 days, 1 month, 2 months, you need to update a method one line, right? So in case you are not creating the method, and in case you are directly writing the code, so 100 line you need to update it, right? But in case of methods, you will update only one line, and same method wherever it is used, it will automatically update, right? So that is the beauty of the method. So I will be commenting out all the code so that you can use for your reference. So I am not removing anything. Okay. So is it clear now, right? Okay. Yeah. Then I will talk about scanner class in Java. So scanner class is a class in Java.util package used for obtaining the input of the primitive data type. It can be integer, float, doubles, right, long, short, like that, right? So we have to use the scanner class. So that is the syntax. And for each and every method type, right, each and every method, right, each and every data type, there will be method name. For boolean, it will be next boolean. For byte, it will be next byte, right? For double, it will be next double, like that. And for string, it will be next line. You need to remember it. Otherwise, it is same. Okay, based on the method name. Based on the data type. If it is boolean, you can see next boolean, byte, next byte, double, next double, integer, next in. But for string, it will be next line, and short, it is next short, long, it is next long, right? There are 8 data types there, right? Just like byte, long, short, integer, string. Okay, these are the different data types available. So string is not a data type. String is not a primitive data type. It is a non-primitive data type, right? String. Character is primitive data type. That is the reason it is different way behaving. Next line for reading a string value. So I will be in the main method, I will be using a scanner class, and I will be definitely I need to declare a variable scan. So I will be creating the variable equal to new, and I have to use scanner. And whenever I will be using the scanner class, then I have to pass, right, system.in as an input stream, because I want to read it, right? So whenever you are reading something, you have to use system.in, and whenever if you want to print something, it will be system.out. So that is the predefined class is Java, available in Java. So you need to remember it, otherwise you will not able to write your code. Okay, so just you need to use system.in. Okay, so here I will be using system.in. Okay, you can see, and now you need to close with semicolon, and here you can see the error message is there. You need to import the scanner class, right, from java.util package. The class is available in java.util package because it's the inbuilt class of Java. Now before that, if you want to print something, you can, right, after the object or instance is created. So suppose if you want to print your name, right, so you will be using so enter your name. And what is the data type of your name? You know, name is containing alphanumeric character, right? So data type will be string, right? So here with that particular method, right, I will be using scan dot, what is the method name? I have for reading the string value, next line, right? If you press dot next line, right? It is coming. So you can use it. And what is the data type of the next line? You can see if you press scan dot next, right? You can see next line will be coming, and you can see data type. This is called data type, return type, right? So next line return type is string. Okay, so I have to declare some variable where I will be storing. So data type will be string, and say suppose I am just want to store in the name variable, right? Then now I want to print out the name. SYSO, I want to print out the name, just simply name, and you can also add some word here, right?
So, what is the difference of SYSO before
Okay,
that,
yeah,
line? Yeah, and
yes,
after one.
yeah, I am just showing you. Entered name is, okay, and you need to use plus sign, concatenation sign. Now if you run, you can see here. After that, you can easily understand. You can see, right? Enter your name, right? We can write. So here you have to, that what is coming, right? Here simply SYSO, just you know, right? If you enter something, so it will be coming. Now here, as we have used the scanner class, and next line we have used, so here you can write something. Suppose name, I am giving name Haradhan. Now if you press enter, you can see it is coming. Entered name is Haradhan. So that word it is reading with the help of scanner class, and after that output is coming, right? Entered name is appending with the name whatever you are entering.
Okay.
Got it? Right? So scanner class with the help of system.in for, right, reading the data. System.in is the input stream for reading the data, whereas system.out is an output stream, and system.error. There are three different streams available. One is system.in, system.out, and system.error. System.error is for handling the error, okay, for error stream. Okay, so I will be using the scanner class to read it, where I will be using system.in, and here I will be just simply printing out, right? Enter your name, so that in the next line I can enter my name. Okay, and here I am with that object whatever created, and with the help of the method for reading the string value, right? This is the string value, and I am using the method next line. This is the method available for reading the string, and then I am storing it in different variable called names, which return type will be string, and I am just printing it out. So it is entering. Now if I want to add more lines, so just comment it out, the same line of code. Okay, and I will be using once more same way. Now I want to enter your, suppose say, mobile number. So what is the mobile number? So mobile number is integer, right? Because it's only number. Okay, so here I will be removing that line, and instead of that I will be using scan. Just let's remove the line. So first this output, right? Enter your mobile number. Then here I will be using scan, that object whatever is created, dot, right? What is the return type? What is the method name for integer, right? To read an integer value, reads the integer value from the user. This is called next int, right? So scan dot next int, right? This is the method I need to call it. And return type is the of next int is, you can see here, integer, and everything is scanner, right? It will scan. So from the method name itself you can get the details of the method. So return type will be integer. So I have to use the return type as integer, return type. So integer, right? Mobile number, this is the variable I am storing, mob number. Okay, and then I will be printing that variables here, and I can change the method, right? The other message, entered mobile number is. Now if you run your code, you can see here, right? You can see here some enter your mobile number. So I can enter my mobile number, something. Okay, it should be numeric, otherwise it will throw some error. Okay, for input string, next, okay, we should use double because it is changing. I mean it is more value, right? We should use double. Okay, so if it is only 1 or 2 word, it will still fine. Let's enter 1 or 2 word, because it will integer value, so it will give you correct way. And if you want to enter 10 digit mobile number, enter your mobile number. Let's close. Okay, let's run it once more. Okay, you can see. 1 second. Okay, now let's run the code. Enter your mobile number. I want to give only 3 digit, because it should be match with integer. If you press here, you can see number is coming, but if you 10 digit, you should change it to double, right? So data type will be double here. Just you need to change the data type here double, and where also you need to use the word method for double is scan dot double, next double. So now it will work. Only you will be changing the data type and also the method corresponding to data type, right? For double, it is next double. Okay. So for method double, it is next method. Now you clear it, and if you run it, and for double you can write, right, there are a lot of the size will be huge. So now if you enter 10 digit data type 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and if you enter, it will not throw any error. You can see there it is not the error message, and it is coming. Okay, so that's way you can deal with, right, the scanner class. Similarly, if you want to read byte, right, if you want to read float, if you want to read long, short, you can try it. So you need to match with the relevant data type, and obviously for the relevant data type you need to call the relevant method for the scanner class. The next is wrapper class. So what is wrapper class? Okay, because right, that there are data type is non-primitive and primitive. Okay, so primitive data type are not object, right? And sometimes we need to convert those primitive data type to object as well, right? Whenever we will be dealing with collections, so for each and every data type we need to convert to object, right? So unless we are using the wrapper class, it will not be possible to wrap them. Okay, that is the reason wrapper class plays a pivotal role in Java. Okay, so wrapper class is a class whose object wraps or contain primitive data type. Wrapper class is used to convert any data type in object. The primitive data type are not object. They do not belong to any class, right? Because this is the Java inbuilt data type, primitive data type and non-primitive data type, and they do not belong to any class. They are defined in the language itself. Sometimes it is required to convert data type into object in Java language. So then wrapper class will come into the pictures, and it will play the pivotal role for wrapping the data type. Wrapper class provides a mechanism to wrap primitive values in an object so that primitives can do activities reserved for an object, like being added in array list, hash set, hash map in the collection. So whenever I will be talking in the collection, you will get to know more details about it, but now just you can get the high level overview of the wrapper class. So there are 8 wrapper class available in the java.lang packages and known as wrapper class in Java. So this is the data type and this is the corresponding, right, wrapper class. For character is character, for integer it will be integer, like that. Okay, so for float it will be float. Okay, so here just if you write some word and if you want to convert in the wrapper class, so that is the syntax. Okay, so I will be commenting out this line of code. Okay, here suppose I am defining some variable, suppose say integer a equal to 100, and I want to convert it to wrapper class, right? So I have to use the corresponding wrapper, right, class. So for integer it will be integer, integer, this is the wrapper class, and I will be creating some variables, right? Okay, so wrap integer, I can mention the variable name wrap int. equal to, if I want to convert it to wrapper class, then what I need to convert it, how I can convert it, will be using new keyword and then the class. That's way, right, I can create. And here you need to pass the variable name, right, for whatever you want to convert it to the wrapper class, you will be using that same variable name. Now if you want to print out, okay, so I will print out SYSO A as well as I will print out wrap variable. So it will give you the same result, but in case some of the data type you need to use in collection framework, so first you need to convert it to wrapper class, otherwise it will not be possible. You can see the output will be same. So if you call A, it will be 100, and after wrapping it, if you call that particular variable, it will be also 100. So that's why similarly for each and every, right, data type you can wrap it into the relevant wrapper class. For double it will be doubles, okay, for byte it will be byte. Yes.
Actually, my internet is not working properly. So you explained something regarding wrapper, and then it got stuck. I didn't got to
Okay.
whatever you
Okay. So I already mentioned, right. So what is wrapper class all about, right? You know, right? These are the data type, primitive data type, are does not belong to any class. So that is the reason we can't create any object, right? As they do not belong to any class, so how we will create the object, right? But in the collections for each and every data type, we have to, right, convert them to object, so that those can be added to array list, linked list, hash map, hash set, like that, and after that some operation can be performed, right? So that is the reason wrapper class plays into the pivotal role, through which we can wrap the primitive data type to the, right, wrapper class, okay. And for each and every data type there will be class name. For character it will be character, for double it will be doubles, for integer it will be integer, like that, okay. So I am defining a variable here first, integer a equal to 100, right? Then if I want to wrap it to the wrapper class, so I have to call the relevant class, right, integer, okay, that type will be integer. And here after creating the integer, so I will be creating a variable, so wrap int, and you need to use the wrap new keyword, and this is the type in again integer, and here I am passing the variable, right, which I want to convert into wrapper class. So I also want to print the value of a, and as well as I want to print the value of the variable whatever I have created. If you run, so it will be both same, but the wrap int is converted to wrapper class, whereas I is the primitive data type. So that is the difference. Okay.
So that integer part is striked out.
Yes, it will be striked out, okay, but you have to give it. So it is the internal features of Java, okay. Whenever you are writing, it will be striked out, okay. No need to worry about that, okay. Apart from that, there is a, okay, parse int method is available, through which we can convert, right, the primitive data type into the wrapper class. After that we can perform some operation, okay. Suppose say, let's comment it out, the code, why wrapper class is important, so that you can get some idea, okay. Let's define some value here, string, okay, data type string, okay. So I am defining some called string, okay. Suppose strings, I am giving the variable name is, suppose string s, where I will be entering suppose 1 2 3 4 5, right. I can store it, because strings will store alphanumeric character, you know, right. But here you can see all are numeric only, right, 1 2 3. Suppose I am storing only 1 2 3, okay, but it will be considered a string only, not the numeric value or integer value, right. Now say if I want to add some number, right, with that string, so if I want to add 50, so s plus 50, so what will happen? I already mentioned, right, for a string if you want to add some numeric value, it will be concatenated, right, not the addition. So if you, so what will be the output? Output will be 1 2 3 and then 5 0, right, that will be output, because it will be just simply add, not the summation. Whenever if you want to perform any operation in string, it will be just add those value, not the summation. You can see the output will be coming as 1 2 3 4 5 like that, right? So I 1 2 3 and 5 0. Okay, but here in the string part everything is numeric only. So still you can perform some operation, right? So if you want to use actually add it, so it will be 1 2 3 plus 50 equal to 173, but it will consider string because it is not converting in the wrapper class, though it is numeric value is there. But now if you convert, right, that particular string into the wrapper class, so what will happen? So how can you convert it, right? So as this is completely integer, so I will be defining as data type as integer, then I can give the variable name as I, right, equal to, then if I want to convert to integer, so I already mentioned, right, this is the wrapper class integer dot, okay, sorry, integer jar. If you press dot, all the methods available in the integer wrapper class will be coming, right? So I have to use parse in method for integer, and you can see return type is integer, and this is the class, right? Just like scanner class, you can see here integer is the wrapper class. Okay, and return type is integer. So I already mentioned the return type is integer and variable name is I, so I will be using that method, and here I need to pass the variable, right, just the variable is, right? Now what happens, that particular variables is string, right? In case everything is numeric only, then only we can convert it. Okay, now it's converted to integer. Now if you want to perform the operations, right, same operation, okay, after converting it, so you just need to change it with I, instead of s I will be changing it to I variable. So what will be the output? Output will be 173. Okay, let's see what is happening here. You can see for the first it is simply string, so here plus sign is using as an concatenation operator instead of addition, because in case if you want to perform some operation in the string, it will just add those number, like, okay, just suppose if I give suppose any just like already mentioned in the last class, right, for string it will just append the value, concatenate the value, and in case of integer, so obviously it will perform the operation called plus minus, like that, whatever you will be entering. Okay, and so until you are converting to relevant wrapper class, right, using the wrapper class with relevant variables, so you will not able to get the correct answer. So that is the reason with the help of integer class and parsed in method I am converting into relevant integer value, and then if I want to perform the operation, so it will give me the correct result. So that is the two important aspect of wrapper class. Is it clear now? Ankur, you get it, or still attendance is down? Prashant, Jivita?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, great. So that is the beauty of wrapper class. So we will get to know more about whenever we will be using dealing with like collections, right, different collection framework, right, array list, linked list, hash map, hash set, hash table, all this stuff, tree, set. Okay, then the next is Java math class. So Java .lang.math class contains method for performing basic numeric operation, right, such as additions, deletions, suppose, and if you want to get the maximum value, minimum value, if you want to round any integer, if you want to get the cell, floor, exponential value, logarithm value, cube root, right, square root, so you can use the, right, that particular java.lang.math class. This is the inbuilt class available in Java. Okay, so you can directly use it. Okay, suppose say I will be declaring some variables here. So in variable you need to declare in the class level, right? You know, in the class level I need to declare some variables. Or if you declare in the class level, so you have to, right, give some static keyword, otherwise you have to create an object or instance. Okay, but if I want to declare in the main method, so I can still do it. So without static keyword I can directly do the operations. Okay, suppose I will be declaring some variable in the main method itself. Suppose a equal to, suppose say 10, b equal to suppose say minus 20 say. Okay, and I need to give the data type, return type, right? Sorry, data type, it will be integer. Also it will be integer, otherwise it will throw some error. Okay, now if you want to perform some operation, so you need to use the math class, math dot. If you press, you can see all the method is coming, right? Whatever is available in the math class. Okay, now if you want to get the maximum, so you can use that relevant functions, right? You can see max, right? You can see data type, right? If this doubles, you can give it doubles like that. So I will check it max. I can give the number a and b variables, right? Let's run the code and let's see. It will not give you any printed because I am not printing in the SYSO method, right? So I have to use SYSO. And I need to give it within the bracket. So if you run it, you can get the maximum value of two variables. Okay, you can see the maximum value of two variables is 10 because minus 20 is negative sign, right? So it is behaving correct way. Now if you change the minus sign to plus sign, so what will be the maximum value? It will be maximum value will be 20. Okay, now you can see output is coming as 20, right? Now if you want to same way, if you want to square root, do some square root, right? So math dot, you need to use that particular method, math dot square root SQ. You can see, you can give some value, so it will be converted to double as the return type is double. So it will give you 100.0 because it is return type is double. Okay, sorry, square root, it is rooting, right? Square root of 10 will be 3.16. Okay, similarly if you want to do some cube root, SYSO, then you need to use the math function math dot cube root, math dot c root, cube root, right? You can cube root, suppose if you want to cube root a, so it will give you the cube root of 10, so you can get the value. So that's way you can use the math function. So I have listed down all the important function here, right? So I will be, suppose say I will be defining more variables called double d equal to, I am giving it to suppose say 25.6. okay, now if you want to convert it to cell value or floor value, right? What will be the output? SYSO math dot cell, right? And you have to give double, right? So I am just giving the variable name double cell. And if I want to get the floor value, so I will let you know what is floor value and what is cell value. Math dot floor of doubles, and variable name I am selecting, sorry, d. Okay, now let's run the code and let's see what is the output and what is all about floor and what is all about cell. You can see it is coming as 26. So cell is the maximum value, right? 25.6 we can consider as 26, right? And floor is the minimum value of that thing, right? If you discard the decimal part, so it will be 25. And whereas if it is more than 5, right, we can consider is 26 plus 1. So that's why cell is coming and floor is coming here. You can see cell, math dot cell return the smallest integer that is greater than or equal to the argument, whereas math dot floor returns the largest integer that is less than or equal to the argument, right? Similar way, if you want to change the exponential sign, sorry, if you want to check the exponential powers, right? So suppose say I want to get the power of two variables, SYSO suppose math dot pow, okay. Here you can give the variables, you can check the variable, or you can give some input here instead of taking the variable. Suppose 2 to the power 3, what will be the output? 2 to the power 3 output will be 2 into 2 into 2, it will be 8, right? So you can see 8, and this return type is double, so it is coming as 8.0. Okay. Now say if you want to change the sign, right? Okay, math dot copy side, math dot increment exact, so you can also add it. Okay, math dot increment exact, this function returns the argument incremented by 1. Okay, so let's use that. So math dot increment, okay, increment exact, okay, and variable if you select a, so what will be the output? It will be incremented by only 1, right? So 10 plus 1 equal to 11, right? You can see. So if you want to decrement, so you have to use decrement exact dot decrement exact, right? And if you want to change the variable as b, you can change it. So b will be decremented by 1, right? So it will be 19. You can see the output is coming as 19. So these are the importance, right, methods or functions available in the math class through which, right, without writing any new method you can directly use it. This is called user defined methods, right? Okay, or built-in method. So string method, date and time method, or math class method, this is the user defined method in Java, and you can directly use it without writing any new method. In case method is not available, you have to write your method, where method can have return type, without return type also there. Okay, so that is all about math class. So are you clear the math class? Or any questions? So you can try out other options of the math class, whatever has been listed here, and in case any problem, just let me know. Just simply you have to use it. So whatever has been mentioned here, all the importance math class. Then so I will let you know what is date and calendar class function, right? So this is also like inbuilt functions available in Java. Okay, so the class date represent a specific instant in time with millisecond precision. The date class of java.util package implements sizeables, clonables, and comparable interface. It provides constructor and method to deal with date and time. Whereas Java calendar class is an abstract class. So abstract class you will not have any idea. Okay. So abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract methods. So in the next session I will talk about Java OPS concept, where the more four concept is like inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. Okay. So I will talk details all about the important, right, attributes of the OPS concept. So right now, I mean, you just need to learn the keyword called abstract class. So Java calendar class is an abstract class that provides methods for converting date between a specific instant in time and a set of calendar functions such as month, year, hours, right, minutes, seconds, week, like that. It inherits object class and implements the comparable interface. So first we will use the date functions, right, the date class. So let's comment it out, all the lines of code whatever I have written for the math class. So Ankur, your internet connection is fine. Are you able to hear it properly?
Yes, no.
Okay, okay. So as date is a class, so we'll be using the date, and I'll be declaring some variable for the date. Okay, dt. This is the variable name, and you already know, right? Whenever we will be creating object instance for any class, we have to use that particular syntax. Okay. Now object creation is done, but we have to import the date class because it is already available in the java.util package, not the java.sql. Remember it, you need to import it java.util package because this is the class available in the java.util package. Okay. So right now I already created an object or instance. Okay. Now if I want to print it out, so I need to convert that variable to string. Okay, so I will be using that variable, and then I will be using toString, so that it will be converted to string, because that will be string, right? It will have, right, year, month, then times, millisecond, second, like that. You can get the output of the current date, right? Sunday, November 29, right? 19 is 0 to 2 minutes and 26 seconds, this is the IST and this is the year. So that's how you can get the current date of your systems, right? You no need to worry about the current date and time, you will get everything. Okay. Now if you want to convert to a specific format, so what you need to do, you need to declare a variable, right? Suppose I am declaring the variable as string because I want to convert in some variable, and you can use some variable called format equal to, you can use the structure through in which you want to convert it. So I will be giving, suppose say hour, then minute, then second. This is the format first. I will be giving some space, and this is the millisecond part. Also I want to get it. Here no millisecond has been triggered, right? Only hours, minute and second. I also want to get the millisecond. So this is the syntax, you need to learn it. For hour it is HA, small h, for minute it is small mm, for second it is SS, and for millisecond just simply a word. Okay. And then I want to get, suppose date dd, suppose I can give this format or this format, whatever format I can give it. So dd mm, this format, and then yy. So this format I want to get it, and I need to close with inverted comma, I need to close with colon. Now after that I need to use another class called simple date format, where I will format the date, right? With which I will format the date. I will be using simple date format. This is the class available in Java. You need to remember simple date format, S, D and F will be capital, equal to, sorry, I will be getting another variable S, D, F. This is the variable, equal to new and simple date format, and where we will be passing the format variables. We will be passing the format variables, right? So that will be converted into that format. Okay, I need to close with semicolon, and need to import it, simple date format class, right, from the java.text. Now if you print out, so it will be printed, right, using the format. Okay. So I will be using SYSO, I will be using that SDF. Then you need to use the format, right? Format, one method is available, format, and then return type will be date class, because this is the class I want to format it, right? So format, and object will be dt. So that is the lines of code, you need to remember it if you want to change it with the specific format, because if you want to deal with, some operation with the date, right? So this is the important class, you need to remember it. Two important class, one is date class and another is simple date format class, and whenever you are changing it to format, so you have to use that particular instance for the simple date format class, then the format method, and you have to pass the date object or instance, whatever you created, so that you can see the format. So by default date format, whenever you are converting to string, right, day and then month, date, and hour, minute, second, and IST and year. Now I can convert it based on my requirement, I can change it anything, right? So you can see now hour, minute, second, and then PM or AM, right? A is for AM or PM. Okay. And then date, month, and year. Now if you change it to other format, say I want to get it in slash format, okay, and I want to get only the last two part, okay, instead of all the parts. So if you run it, you will get the required format based on the requirement. So you can check your requirement, you can see it's coming as 29/November and last two digit of the year 20 YY. So that is the beauty, right? Instead of hour, right? If you want to change it to minute first or second, you can change it also. So it will be based on your requirement. Okay. So that's way you can deal with date class, right? You need to use date class, and as well as you need to use simple date format class. You, in case if you want to convert the date in a specific format as per your requirement. Okay. Then I will let you know what is all about calendar class. So calendar class also default class available in Java. So this is the syntax calendar. Okay, I will be using variables, object or variable for cal equal to new calendar, and after calendar, sorry, you have no need to use the new keyword. It will be calendar dot get instance. Okay, and you can see return type is calendar, right? That is the reason I am using calendar and I am creating the variable. So this is available in java.util.calendars, right, class. So you need to import it, already it's imported. Okay, now if you want to print out, right, something, you can just use it. Suppose if you want to print out the time zone, so you need to use it SOISO, so that particular instance, and if you press dot, you can see everything will be coming. So I can use get time zone, get time zone, right? Okay, and if you print it out now, you can see that you will get the time zone using the calendar class. So with the help of the date class you can get it, and with the calendar class you can get it. Okay, some error message is there. Okay, got it. First, okay, we need to use that calendar class for calendar, and you need to declare a variable cal, then calendar dot get instance. After that, if we use to print out, so we need to convert it to string. Okay, let's check once more. Okay, let's check once more. Suppose I want to get the date part, year part. Okay, so cal dot get, okay, calendar dot year, I need to give it get, and then I need to give calendar dot year. Okay, so that is the syntax. Okay, and if I want to print it, I need to use SOISO, and I need to close with. Now let's run the code and let's see whether it's giving me the correct year or not. Okay, it's giving me. So that is the syntax. First we need to create an object orientation for the calendar class. Okay, with the help of calendar, and we need to get the instance, and after that we need to use that particular variable, and then we need to use get, and then again calendar class, and that is the different attribute I want to print it out, right? Okay, so for time it will be dot get time. Okay, that is the reason it was not coming. Okay, now let's check it. SOISO, that variable name dot get time. Okay, now let's print it out. Let's see whether it's behaving correctly or not. Okay, now it is coming properly. So first it is giving me the total time of the current systems, Sunday, November 29 and 9:11 p.m. IST 2020. Now if I want to get the day year, so I can get it, right? Similarly, if I want to get the other part, right, month, so still I can get it, right, with the help of calendar dot month. I'll be using calendar dot month, month. Okay, if I want to get, right, week of day of the week, I can get it, calendar dot day of the week or day of the month, like day of the week. So let's run it and let's see what it is behaving, how it is behaving. So first date is coming and 2020, right, year, and month is, right, 10. Okay, it's November, so it is 10, and day of the week it is coming as 1. Okay, because it is considering as total number month. How it is 10? Calendar dot month. It's November, right? It should be 11. Okay. So it is not sure why it is behaving, but it should be coming accordingly. Day of the week, as it is starting right with Monday, Sunday, so it is coming as 1, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that, so it should be come like 1. In case it is Monday, so it will be 2. If it is Tuesday, it will be 3, like that. Okay. Now, if you want to change something, right? If you want to set the new date, so you can do it with the help of the calendar class. So, okay. So now suppose here if I want to add some date in the calendar, okay, so I can add it. So if I want to get the date here instead of month, if I want to get the date, okay, let's press dot then date, DATE. Okay, as return type is integer, let's run it and let's see whether how it is printing it out. Okay, so date is coming as 29, right? And right, date of the week is Sunday, it is like 1. Monday it will be 2. Now if you want to add something, so you need to use the object or instance, right? Then if you need to press add, add, right? Then you need to use first field name, right? What is the field name? Calendar dot date or year if you want to add. Suppose I want to add year, 1 year, right? Calendar dot year. Okay, and what is the value if I want to change it to 2 years? Okay, let's add in the calendar 2 years. After that, if you want to check the years or date, so what will be the output, right? After adding 2 years. Now let's run it and let's see whether it's output. What is the output? You can see the year has been changed to 2022, right? And if you want to now if you want to get the instance also, so it will also change, right? The date will also change. Otherwise it will still remain the same. Okay, now after adding 2 years, right, 2020 November 29 date should be Tuesday. Okay, now if you also want to print the day of the week, you can get it. Day of the week it will be 3, because Sunday, Monday and Tuesday it will be 3, right? You can see it's 3. First it is Sunday 2020 29 November, and day of the week is 1, because it is Sunday starting with 1, right? Monday it will be 2, Tuesday it will be 3, and Wednesday it will be 4. Now I added 2 years here. So after the added 2 years, I can get the time, and I can get the year, I can get the month, I can get the day of the week, right? And if you instead of 2 years, if you want to change month, so calendar dot month, you can add it month. Suppose if I want to add 2 months, so what will happen? Let's add it to 2 months. You can see, so November 29 plus adding 2 months, it is moving to January 29, and year is also updating to 2021, right? And year is 2021, and this Friday it is coming as 6, right? Day of the week, because Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, so Friday is the 6th day of the week. So that's why you can do your update in the existing calendar as well, right? And if you want to set, there is also parameters available for setting the date, right? So if you want to set the date instead of adding, if you want to set all the parameters, date, month and year, so you have to use that instance cal dot set, right? And here you can change it, sorry, set cal dot set, and you can give it all the years, month and combination. So suppose I want to set 2021, that is the year, right? And then I want to set the month, suppose say I want to set it to June, and date is suppose say 26. Okay, you can set it. After that, if you want to run all the things, suppose I want to run, I want to get the time, so what you can get it, you can get it the times. So I will be, it will be 2021 6 June, right? You can see it's Monday Okay, July 26. Okay, so it is adding once, that is the reason it is starting from the February. Okay, that is the reason it is adding that way. Okay, July 26, 2021. Okay, so I am not sure quite why it is taking July, because 6 it should take June only. Okay, let's change it to 9 and let's see what is happening. Okay, why it is not taking 9? Okay, let's change it to 9. Okay, it is adding one more month. Instead of September, it is adding to October. There is a problem on one thing, so I will just check why it is not behaving properly, because it is inbuilt feature, we can't change anything. Okay, and you can see the date is 26 instead of 9, it is changing, it should be September, but it is changing to October, and date is 26 and timings also it will be same time and IST pattern. Okay, so that's way you can do some operation on the calendar class, right? You can get the current time, you can get the years, month, minutes, seconds, hour, week of the day, right? You can add some date or hours or minute or like year in the calendar, existing calendar. You can subtract something also, right? If you want to subtract, you need to give it minus sign. Suppose if you want to move down calendar to 2 years or 1 year or days, you need to use minus sign. And after that you can again check it. If you want to set the calendar to a new calendar, you can set it. So these are the importance, right methods or operations available in the date and calendar functions. Is it clear or any doubt? So that's what I will check. Okay, and I will let you know why it is behaving for like with 1 month difference. Otherwise, any questions? Ankur?
No.
Okay, okay, because calendar and date is important class in Java, and whenever you will be dealing with real time framework, so this will really came into pivot. I mean, you need to know it handy form, otherwise you will face some trouble, because you need to date some calendar change, right? And you need to, maybe suppose if you in advance for 6 months, 1 year, there are some sort of testing is there where you need to move the clock of the current calendar, right? So you can do it with the help of the calendar and date class. Okay, the next one is constructor. What is constructor in Java? Constructor is a block of code similar to the methods. Okay, it is called when an instance of the object is created and memory is allocated for the object. You already know, right? Whenever you will be creating an object, immediately, right, we need to use new keyword. So in case you are not adding any constructor, so by default as and when you will be using new keyword, so immediately default constructor will be created and immediately memory allocation will be done. So that is the called constructor. The purpose of the constructor is to initialize the object of a class, while the purpose of a method is to perform the task by executing Java code. Okay, in case you are not there is no constructor, so initialization of the object of a class will not happen, right? In other words, constructor provide memory to the object whenever you are creating the object, right? For a class name, then object name equal to new class. So that object memory allocation will be done immediately with the help of constructor. Without initializing an object, we can't use its properties. A constructor eliminates, places the default value. So in case you are not using anything, right? So you are not defining anything, so with the help of constructor you can get the default value, right? Suppose here I am declaring some variable, say simply variable integer I am not defining anything, right? And if I want to access it, right, I need to create a object or instance. So as and when I will be creating an object or instance, immediately memory allocation will be done. Obj equal to new keyword and then class name, right? And now if you want to print out that I variable, so this will get the default value, though we did not initialize any value, right? It will get the default value SO ISO. So what is the default value for int? It will be 0, right, dot I, you can see it's coming. So I did not assign any value here, just I have just defined the variables with the data type. So initialization is happened through constructor. So as and when you are using the new, so by default constructor is getting created and it will give you the default value. So it will be 0 default value. You can see the default value will be coming as 0, right. Now you can assign some value. Okay, so it will be based on your assignment value. Now if you run it, it will be 10. Okay, so that's why constructor plays a pivotal role in the Java. In case you are not creating any constructor, it will be default constructor. Okay, so every time an object is created using new keyword, at least one constructor is called. It calls default constructor. Constructor can be overloaded but cannot be overridden. Now no need to worry about overloaded or overridden. This is the concept of polymorphism for the OOPS concept. So I will show you in the polymorphism what is all about method overloading and overriding. Before that, you need to know all the Java concept clearly so that you can learn this overload and overridden. Constructor of a class must have the same name as the class name in which it resides. It should be the same name of the class name. Whenever you will be creating any constructor, it should be exactly the same name. Okay. A constructor in Java cannot be abstract, final and static. A constructor must have no explicit return type. Whenever you will be creating some constructor, it should not have a return type. Okay, Java compiler distinguish between a method and a constructor by its name, because definitely method name should be different from the class name, right? Whereas constructor name should be exactly same as your class name and it should not be any return type, right? Even void also. In constructor no return type will be there, no void, no integer like that. But if you create any method, it should be any return type, either it should be void or any specific return type. In Java, a constructor has the same name as that of the class and does not return any value. Okay, if a class does not have a constructor, Java compiles automatically a default constructor during runtime, only during runtime, not the compile time. The default constructor initialize instance variable with default values. For example, integer variable will be initialized to 0. Similarly, string variable will be initialized to null. Suppose I will be defining another variable called string. Just string. I am not assigning any value, right? So whenever I will be with the help of object class, if I want to print that particular thing, right? So it will be default value. So what is the default value for string? It will be null. Similarly, if it is a double or float, default value will be default value will be for double. Okay, let's change it to double. So what is the default value for double? Default value is 0.0. Okay, sorry, for double, double, no. Okay, so double there is no. For float, let's change it to float. Okay, so float, if you change it to float, you can see the default value will be 0.0. Okay, so 0.0, and in case if you are assigning some value, so it will be based on the assignment value. Suppose if you change it to string again, right? If a string is, I want to define some value, suppose my name. Okay, now if you print out, so it will be give you the print output, correct output. Otherwise, based on the constructor, it will give you the default value of the data type. Okay, so what is the definition of constructor? It should be the same as class name. This is the class name and this is the constructor name, right? There is no return type, only the constructor name. Here class name is constructor name I have kept, but return type is there. That is the reason it will be method, not the constructor. Okay, so constructor name should be same, exactly same name as the class name without a return type. Definitely body will be there. So I will create few constructor here to show you how the constructor actually behave. Okay, so and multiple constructor can be created for your class. Okay, but it should be different argument or different data type should be passed. Okay, so that's why you can create. So this is the class name. So what is the syntax for creating the constructor? Simply, right, access modifier public and then class name. So this is the syntax for constructor. okay, and second bracket here you can give some body, right? Suppose I want to give the body as SYSO Java constructor, that why I want to print it out, constructor, okay. Now how you can call it in the main method, how you can call it in the main method. So if you want to use in the main method, right, simply I will be creating a object or instance, okay, simply I will be creating an object or instance. Let's comment it out the code, okay. As and when you will be creating an object or instance, so immediately your constructor will be called. Let's run the code. So simply I have created object or instance obj only, and you can see this, it is output is coming because you return the constructor, right. If you comment out the constructor, let's comment out the constructor. So right, in case you are adding, creating the object or instance, nothing will be displayed unless you are, right, calling some variables or methods available in the Java, right. It will not get any output. But in case you are creating the constructor, immediately after creating the object or instance, you will get the constructor output immediately. So there is no need of creating the, calling the variables or methods in the from the class level. So immediately it is coming, okay. Now say I can create another constructor, okay. Now you can say the constructor name will be same, right, but here you can see some error message because constructor name can be same, but constructor return type, argument type or number of arguments should be different, right. Duplicate method session name, right. Here if you pass some variables, suppose integer a I am passing, right, some variable. So here I want to print the value of a, whatever I am passing, okay. Now let's run the code and let's see, okay. So first it will be only that constructor will be called because here we are not passing any variables, right. Now for that constructor, if you want to create an object or instance, you have to pass some variable in the class level, right, because you are passing some variables. So you have to create an object or instance, another object or instance where you will pass some variables, because that another one is having some, right, argument, we are passing some argument. So I am passing 10, okay, and you need to give the object name, new another object, because multiple object cannot have the same name. Now if you run it, you can see the output is coming as, right, Java constructor for the first without any argument, and for the second constructor whatever you have created here, we are passing some argument, right. So argument is integer, so I have passed integer 10, so it will print, give me the output as 10, okay. So it is coming, right, okay. So that's why you can use the constructor, okay. Let's create another constructor here. Suppose I already defined some data type, right, for integer I equal to 10, okay. So I will be creating another constructor where I will passing the a, and where I want to store as, right, let's remove it, I equal to a. Now what will happen if you run it, what will happen? So let's change the value of a first, suppose 15, okay. Let's print it. So you can see the value is also change, it is not coming anything, okay. So I need to before, okay, here it should be before that. Let's, or instead of I, suppose say let's create another variable. Suppose I am defining some variable called suppose integer a, and I am assigning some value, suppose say 10, and here I want to pass suppose value as b, right, and I want to change it to a constructor, assign some value, Okay, so I want to, or maybe I will create another variable. So let's keep the line of code whatever we have written so far. Okay, so here it was 10, so let's keep it. Let's run it once more and let's see the output. It is coming properly. Okay, so integer a, here I was, okay, let's comment out. Okay, so whatever code was there, I am not changing it. I will create another one more constructor with different data type. So now it is coming, right, Java constructor and 10, because this is the Java constructor where there is no argument is there, and for the other constructor argument is there, which is the integer, and it is printing here, right. 10 I am providing, so that is the reason it is printing here. Now I will define some variables. Okay, suppose say variable is double, so it is not taking, because D cannot be caps. Okay, it will be small, double, double, and I am giving the variable name double D equal to, suppose I want to print 29 point like that. So that is the double variable I am defining here. Okay, then I will be creating another constructor. Okay, so it will be public. So let's copy the code. So that is the syntax for constructor. You can see error message will be coming, because constructor argument should be changed, need to be changed, right, otherwise it cannot be have multiple constructor. Name will be same, here it is no argument, here it is integer a, and here I will be passing double C, double, suppose C I want to pass it. Now I want to assign D equal to C. I will show you the importance of the code, then you can understand easily. D equal to C. Okay, so I am declaring some variable called doubles, then I am creating a constructor while passing the doubles, and I am assigning D equal to C. Okay, now say I will not create any constructor, okay, for that double first. Okay, let's run the code and let's see what is happening here. Okay, so I will be creating a constructor here in the main method for double. Okay, where I need to pass double, right. Okay, you can see error message is coming. Okay, because you can't directly call that object 1, right, you have to create another object called object 2. Okay, now its error message is gone, right. Now if you run it, you can see the output. Now no output is there, right. Why no output is there? Because you are assigning some value, you are not printing out anything, right. Here you are just simply assigning the value D equal to C, but here no SYSO method is there, right. So now if you want to print out, so how can you print it out, right. So there is a object already created, say suppose this is the default object I already created here, right, object. So you need to use object obj dot, if you press dot, you can see the method name will come, right. You can see the variable name is coming, right. Now let's run it with the help of SYSO. Okay, 1 second, let's me correct it once more. SYSO. So this is the object I already created. Dot, what is the variables I have defined? D. Now let's run it. Okay. So I am, you can get the value of D, right. Here you are getting the value of D. Okay. Whatever you have defined here, 29.735. Okay. With the help of default constructor. Now you can create another constructor. Sorry, you create another object. Let's create another object, obj2, where you will be setting the value of D to with the C value. So in the C, this is called double variable. So I am passing it, right. So this is the double variable I am passing it. Now the value of C will be assigning to D, right? Now if you want to print the value of D, so it will not be 29.73, it will be value of C whatever you have entered in the constructor, right? So whatever you have entered as part of object creation. Now let print it with the help of object 2, right? Let's print it with the help of object 2. So here output will be 10.566. So that is the difference. So there are different type of constructor which you can see output is coming, right, in the last 10.556. So I am repeating again once more lines. So I am defining a variable D, right, where it is some value I am assigning it, and I am creating a constructor with return type as double, and I am passing an argument called C, right, and that C I am assigning in the D variable. Okay. So for that particular constructor, in case I am not creating an object or instance, so still the value of D will be that only 29.73. So here I am just creating a default object, and with the object if I want to print the value of D, so it will be the default value whatever assigned value I have assigned here, right, 29.73. Now I am creating a constructor, creating an object or instance for the constructor where I am passing the double value C. After that immediately the value of C is assigning to D. Now if I want to print the value of D, so it will be not that value, it will be the value whatever I am passing through that particular object creation, right, for that constructor. So that is the reason it is coming as 10.566 whatever value I am assigning it, and before that it is the value whatever I have assigned during declaring the variables for the double. Is it clear? Hello?
Okay.
Okay, right, because this is the different usage. So I have tried to explain all the usage of constructor, right. Constructor can have some without argument, we can create some constructor there is no argument. Here you can print something. In case you are passing some argument, right, you can pass directly, so it will be called here, output will be there. And in case you want to deal with some variable with the constructor, so you can still do it, right. So I am declaring some variables and I am creating a constructor where I am defining the constructor value to the variable value, right. So before creating the object or instance for the particular constructor, so value of D will be the default value whatever you have assigned. In case after creating the object or instance for the constructor, so value of that passing value will be assigned to that variable, so it will be displayed. Okay, so that's all about the constructor. Let's comment it out all the lines of code. And the last topics I will teach you today is called exception handling and the importance of try-catch block. What is exceptions in Java? In exceptions, right, whenever you know, if you want to code something, right, during code you can get some exception during compile time, right. If you want to save your code, sometime you will get some exception. Suppose if I want to give some variable here, suppose I am defining something called a equal to 5, right, and you can immediately, if you save it, you can get some exception, right. It cannot resolve to a variable, so you have to define some data type, right. If you enter some integer, so immediately that error message will be gone. So this is also called compile time error. Okay, so you can handle it. So exception is a problem that arises during the execution of the program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is disrupted and the program or application terminates abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore the exception to be handled, right. So suppose say if you want to divide, right, suppose if I want to divide, print something called 100 with 0, so it will throw some exception during runtime, right, because compiler will not know in the compilation time, because there is no syntax error, right, it will not throw any error. After that, if you want to print out something, okay, so above line of code is having some error. Okay, so if you run the code, you can see what will happen. Okay, you can see exceptions, and the next line of code is not getting executed, and if you write it before the exception, you can see, so it will be definitely executed. Below, I am changing it to below line of code is having some error. Okay, so definitely this line of code will be executed after that exception is coming, right? Because 100 divided by 0, it is a arithmetic exception, definitely it will having some exception, right? It cannot be divided, we can't divide anything by 0, right? So this is called arithmetic exception, right? So that is the reason if you run your code, so as and when exception will be occurred, and if you are not handle the exceptions, so next line of code will not be executed. So above exception line of code is executed, right? You can see the output. Below line of code is having error, and here in the line number, right, you can see, right, session 6, that is the class name, and Java 39, that is the line number, right? That way you can easily identify which line some error or exception is coming, right? And exception name java.lang.arithmetic exception and divided by 0, and this is the class name, and this is the 39 line number, this is 39 line number, it's coming exactly. So you have to handle the exception. In case you handle the exception will be triggered, but your next line of code will be also executed, so your execution will not be interrupted. That is the reason we have to handle the exception, otherwise your program will terminate immediately at that line of code as and when exception will be occurred. In case you are handling exception, so your error message will be there, but your execution will not stop, right? Okay, an exception can occur for many different reasons. Following us some scenario where an exception can occur. User has entered invalid data, right? File, if you want to access some file, right? Or suppose if you want to update some file, but that is open, so it will be read only, right? You cannot perform the operation, right? And network connection has been lost in the middle of communication. Suppose a particular, if you want to update your, suppose if you want to open some Chrome browser and network connection is not there, so it will not open, so your program will end abruptly, right? There are mainly 3 types of exception available in Java: checked exception, unchecked exception, and error. Checked exception, the classes which directly inherit throwable class except runtime, and error are known as checked exception. Like IO exception, SQL exception, checked exception are checked at compile time, right? During compile time you can check it. Whereas unchecked exception only you can get to know during runtime, just like arithmetic exception, right? Array, index out of bound exception. These are the unchecked exception which only you can know during runtime, but compile time you will not able to get to know. And error is irrecoverables, out of memory error, virtual machine error, assertion error. So only this will be called as error, not the exception, right? You already, if you go through the TestNG section, so if you want to assert something, so in case it is failed, so it will throw some error. Similarly, in case your memory is not available, if you want to upload some file which is suppose say 5 MB, it will throw some error called out of memory error. Okay, these are the 5 keywords available in Java to handle exceptions. Okay, try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. Okay, so what is the objective of try keyword? The try keyword is used to specify a block where we should place exceptions code. The try block must be followed by either catch or finally. It means we can't use try block and alone. Whenever we will be using try block, we need to use a catch or finally. The catch block is used to handle the exception. It must be preceded by try block, which means we can't use catch block alone. It is followed by finally block later. It can be. Okay. Finally, the finally block is used to execute the important code of the program. It executed whether exception or handle or not. Right. Suppose catch block, in case exception is handled, then only catch block will be, code will be triggered. In case you are using finally block, so it does not matter whether exception is coming or not, it will still execute. So for finally, throw, and throws, I will create, I will talk about later section. So right now in the current section, in today's session, I will cover try and catch. Whereas throw keyword is used to throw an exception. If you want to create generic exception, suppose a kind of create new exception name, so you can use it with the help of throw keyword. Whereas throws keyword is used to declare exception. It does not throw an exception. It specifies that there may occur an exception in the method. So it will let you know that exception can be occurred, and you can handle the exceptions with the help of try and catch or finally block, right? It is always used with the method signature. These are the different kind of exceptions can be there in the Java. So Java defines several type of exceptions that relate to its varied class library. Java also allows user to define their own exception. Okay, there are some built-in exceptions available. Apart from that, we can create our few own exceptions based on our requirement. Okay, these are the exception I have already tried to jot down. This is the important exception. Arithmetic exception, if you want to do some arithmetic kind of exceptional condition, that's division by 0, so it will throw arithmetic exception. Array index out of bound exception, it is thrown to indicate that array has been accessed with a illegal index. Suppose we have defined the array as to size as 2 size, right? So it will be A0 and A1 I have given, but I want to access the variable placed in A3. So only 2 element is there, how can you access A3? So at that time array index out of bound exception will be there. The index is either negative or greater than the equal size of the array. Class not found, this exception is raised when we try to access a class whose definition is not found. Suppose there is no class I already made here, right? Suppose here only the class name is suppose session 6. Now if I want to create an object or instance in the main class for session 7, say, okay, say session 7 obj equal to new session 7. So it will be allowed, it will not be allowed, right? So it will be throw some exception. You can see here error message is coming, create class 7, and if you run it, what will happen? You can see exception in the main thread, right? Unresolved comparison problem. Okay, so it will, that's why, right, 7 cannot be resolved to a type. Okay, so in case class is not found, it will throw some error, and you can see get the line number. Okay, similarly in case file is not found, it will throw file. I have exception in case any problem in the input output operation. Suppose if you want to access something, right, but that file is not accessible at that part, so it will throw. Interrupt exception, whenever I will be talking about thread, right? So in case there is a thread is there, but thread is waiting, sleeping, or doing some other work, and but if you want to perform some operation in the thread, so it will give you interrupt exception. No such field exception, it will be thrown when a class does not contain the field or variables, right? Suppose if you want to access some variables, right? Say I will be creating a object or instance, right? And here right now you can see there is no method or variable is declared, right? So I will be creating object, suppose object equal to new class name, okay, and you need to close with colon. Now there is no variables, but I want to access some variables. Okay, suppose I want to print out, suppose variable is there, there are so many variable AB, but everything is commented, so this is not considered as variable. I want to get where A is not a variable. Now if you want to run your code, you will throw some kind of error. Okay, you can see unresolved comparison problem. Okay, exception in main thread, right? So that's why, right, there can be some exception will come during runtime. Okay, no such method, in case there is no method found at all, so if you want to access it. Null pointer exception, in case you already, right, try to declare a string, but where is value is null, right, and if you want to get the right size of that particular string or array, so it will throw you some null pointer exception. Runtime exception, right, during runtime there can be some exception. Number forward exception, right? So in the parse int I already showed you, right, how to convert to parse int here, but here the it is only, right, no numeric part is available, some alphabetic part is also there. So if you want to convert a alphabetic to a parse integer, so it will throw some exception, right? Number conversion exception, number format exception. Similarly, string index out of bound exception, it will be thrown by the string class method to indicate that index is either negative than the size of the string. So these are the important exceptions available in Java, and we can handle it with the help of try catch block. The try block contains set of statements where an exception can occur, and try block is always followed by catch block, which handles the exceptions that occurs is associated try block. A try block must be followed by catch block or finally block or both, but try block cannot be independent. Okay, we can't write any try block independently. A single try block can have multiple number of catch block as well. In case no exception occur in try block, then the catch blocks are completely ignored. Okay, suppose, so here the exception is there in the code, right? So if you run it, so previous line of code, because before exception it will be executed, and after that after the exception, so it is not getting executed, right? So I have to handle the exception. How can I handle it? I need to handle with try catch block. So there is a options, we can add it. If you select and if you right click, there is an option called surrounds with. You can see surrounds with try catch block. So if you add it, so you can see here immediately it is getting surrounded with try catch block. Okay. Now I will change the line, or you can here also update it. Now see, it is handled with the exceptions, right? Okay. Now let's run the code and let's see whether exception is getting handled. So exception is getting handled and the next line of code is getting executed, right? So exception will be there definitely, but your next line of code is getting executed. Okay. So that's why we can, with the help of try catch block, we can handle the exception. Now I already mentioned, right, in case there is no exception is there, right? So try block will be completely ignored. Suppose if I want to divide 100 by 1, so there will be no exception, right? So try block will be completely ignored and you will only get the line of code, right? You can get the result also, you can see, right, below line of code and then result and then, right, error. Okay. Now if I want to 0, okay, let's create your own try catch block. So what is the syntax for creating the try catch block? So you have to use try keyword first, then you need to give bracket, right? Within the bracket you have to give the statement, then you need to close the bracket, right? Then you need to catch here, then you will be using catch, CATCH, and you need to give the exception name, right? So you can either give exception, so it will be generic exception E, right? Exception variable name you can give it E, then you will also need to print out the exception, right? So I will be printing out CSOISO, then exception E. So that's why you can create your custom exception with the help of try catch block. So now if you run it, so there is no error message is there, you can see the exception is coming, right? Arithmetic exception. If you click it, you can give some exception, exact exception name instead of exception, it will still be handled. So you can change it to the exception. Okay. So if you run it, it will be still be solved. So you can either, if you do not know the name of the exception, you can give it only exception, and if you know the exception name, you can give it. Now let's change it to the different exception name. Okay. Then what will happen? Instead of arithmetic exception, I am giving IO exception. So it will be not be handled, right? And the next line of code will not be executed. So you can see some error message is coming. Let's check the error message. So I need to import IO exception from the Java. So it's imported, still error message is coming. Okay, remove catch clause. Okay, for IO exception we can remove it. Okay, because it will not be handled, that is the reason we will not able to solve it. So let's change it to other exception called null pointer exception. Okay, so it will be handled? No, because I am getting the exception called arithmetic exception, but I am catching here null pointer exception, so it will not be handled. So your next line of code will not be executed. You can see here, right? First is coming, but error exception is not handled. It is coming as arithmetic exception. Yeah, exactly, you have to give the exception name, right? So it will be arithmetic exception. You need to give it. You can correct it from the exception itself. You can just correct it. Otherwise, you have to give the arithmetic exception. So now it will be handled. If you give it either arithmetic exception or simply exception, it will be handled. Okay. Now it will be handled and your next line of code will be executed. Okay, you can see it is coming working fine, right? Now let's comment out that particular part, and I will be using another exception with the help of try catch block. Okay, so first I will be using try, right? Then here I am defining some string, okay, string string. Okay, let's change the try catch block first. So I will be defining some string 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 s. Here I am defining the value as null, so I am not giving any variables, right? So it is null, right? Now if you want to get a length of the string, so what will happen? It will throw you some error. So I want to get the length of the string, so s dot length, right? Now if you run your code, let's see what is happening. So as it is null, so it will not throw it will throw a error, right, exception, because you can see exception in the main thread, right? Null pointer exception is coming. So next line of code is not working, right? Above line of code is having some error, so it is not working. Only previously it is. So if you have to handle the exception, you need to select both the lines and you can surround with try catch block. Surrounds with try catch block, right? Both line of code you can surround with. Okay, there is an option called surround with, or you can either write your own code, right? And if you know the exception name, you can handle with the exact exception name instead of generic exception. So what is the importance of exception? In case you handle the exception, your other remaining line of code, it will be executed, okay, and your executions interruption will not be there, right? And it will not be abruptly ending, right? You can see the above line of code, also this line of code is also getting executed, and you are catching the exception with the help of try catch block, right? Java lang null pointer exception. What is the line? 43 number line. This is the line where exactly it is coming, and if you enter some value here, suppose test, so now there is no exceptions, okay, so catch block will be completely ignored, right? And you will get the length, right? This 4 1 2 3 4, and catch block is completely ignored, and definitely your remaining line of code will be executed. So in case you are using try catch block, there is the exception, you have to give the exact exception name, otherwise you have to give only that exception keyword, right? So it will be handled, and in case no exception is there, obviously there will be no error will be there, and remaining line of code will be executed. So that is the importance of exception. In case exception is there, you can either handle with try catch block or finally block, right? You can use within a type of block, we can use multiple catch block as well, okay? So you can handle these are kind of exception, arithmetic exception, IO exceptions, file not found, class not found, element not found, like that, okay? So if you want to create your own exception, you can I already show you how you can use try and catch. So try, then after that you need to write the line of code, then you need to use catch, where you need to give the exception. If you want to print out the exception, you need to print out that exception SYSO, then exception name, or e dot print stack trace, okay? So that's all for today's session. Thank you.